Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. I'd like to welcome you to the webinar, How to Submit a UEDA Awards of Excellence Application. It's a webinar designed to provide support to institutions considering submitting an application for the 2015 UEDA Awards of Excellence program. My name is Tim Hines, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Director for UEDA, and I'll be serving as your MC for today's webinar. The Awards of Excellence recognizes leading-edge initiatives in university-based economic development, and it encourages their adoption among UEDA members. Just several housekeeping items before we actually start the program for today's webinar. If you do have a question, please use the questions feature that's located in the right column of the GoToWebinar panel. We'll have an opportunity at the end to answer questions, and that will be by our panelists, and I'll facilitate that. If for some reason you are having any technical difficulties, you can reach me using the chat feature in the right-hand column as well. Everyone will be on mute except for our presenters, on and off throughout today's presentation. Information about the Awards of Excellence program can be found at the following web address that you're welcome to peruse as we're conducting the webinar, and that's awards.universityeda.org. And that's our hub for all Awards of Excellence information. And that's also where our Awards of Excellence webinar today will be posted following the recording. We are recording today, and it will be available at that website. And just as a reminder, the deadline for nominations to the Awards of Excellence program this year is June 30th, 2015, and that's not going to be extended this year. So please keep in mind that that's a hard deadline. So before we get started, I just want to go over briefly a little bit about the University Economic Development Association. UEDA, as it's also referred to, was established in 1976, and it's the cornerstone membership organization representing higher education, private sector, and community economic development stakeholders. UEDA works to expand economic opportunity in our communities by leveraging research, community resources, campus planning, talent development, and technology commercialization. UEDA's mission is to serve its members by enhancing member abilities to deliver economic development benefits through engagement with higher education. Our core members are universities and institutions of higher education, however, also include economic developers and for-profit businesses. Obviously, for more information about our organization, you can reach us at our website, which is www.universityeda.org. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's panel of presenters. First, we have Jean Merrill. Jean is Associate Vice President for Economic Development at the University of Idaho and also serves as UEDA's Awards of Excellence Committee Chair. Jean will be presenting first, and he will give an overview of the awards program and its categories, as well as provide insight into the judging criteria for the awards. Next, we have Janice Kleinwort. Janice is Executive Director of Economic Affairs at Arizona State University. Arizona State University's Sky Song Initiative has been a finalist several years in a row, and UEDA's category winner last year, and that was in the Community Connected Campus category. Janice will explain the thought process behind applying for an Award of Excellence and share some helpful tips on how you can best position your initiative for the judging process. And last but certainly not least is Meredith Jaeger. Meredith is Director of Aero Innovate, which was a 2014 Awards of Excellence winner. Meredith will present her actual presentation from the 2014 awards program so you can see how she positioned Aero Innovate to meet the selection criteria. So without further ado, I'm going to unmute Jean and ask him to kick things off. So Jean, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Tim, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased that you could join us for this webinar on the UEDA Awards of Excellence program. The purpose of this webinar is to help you prepare and formulate your submission for a UEDA Award of Excellence. We will discuss the awards process, including eligibility, the categories, the judging criteria, the timeline, and then you'll hear the finalist presentations. The two previous winners will talk about their projects and how they led to a successful application, but we'll also talk about the impact of winning national recognition. This webinar will also provide an opportunity for Q&A with judges and past award winners, and it should last in total about an hour. Both awards finalists and winners receive benefits from the Awards of Excellence program. Some participants in the program have received things like a recognition from their peers at the conference and after the summit, a validation that their initiative is novel and impactful. The recognition and validation provides credibility for new funding requests. The recognition can spur enrollment because students want to be part of an engaged institution. The program lets others know how they can engage with the institution, creating additional partners, and helps the reputation that the institution is meaningfully engaged in economic development activities. To be eligible, your organization must be a member of UEDA. If you are currently not a member, you must join before submitting your application. If your initiative or project is affiliated with a UEDA member, the application must be submitted by that UEDA member. Your initiative or project should be at least 24 months old. Note that this is just a guideline. If your initiative is not yet completed, or if it was started after July 1st of 2013, it should be at a stage where significant progress and actual benefits can be measured or are clearly anticipated. This will make your application more competitive. You can resubmit an initiative or project, provided it has not already won a UEDA Awards of Excellence. If your project was a finalist and you want to resubmit, your application needs to show new and significant results that it did not have when you were a finalist. You can submit more than one project, and in fact, we encourage it. There is no limit on the number of projects, just on the length of your application. UEDA has 5 award categories, and we'll just walk through each of them and describe what they're about. The first, the community-connected campuses, focuses on the physical development of campuses and their surrounding communities, campuses that stimulate regional economic development, and innovative approaches to campus and community planning that makes the campus a magnet or hotspot for the regional economy. Examples might be a new university building that convenes the community, a new incubator facility, or perhaps a mixed-use development adjacent to campus. The innovation and entrepreneurship category focuses on initiatives designed to support startups, high-growth companies, and clusters within regions. Examples include an angel capital network formed among university alumni, business assistance collaborations, relationship and network building programs for students, faculty, alumni in our businesses, or perhaps a student incubator. But please note that this category is not about entrepreneurship training. Those programs should be in the talent development category. The leadership and collaboration category recognizes efforts by colleges and universities to support the development of collaborative economic development strategies and the leaders required to implement them. Examples include regional strategy development led by a university, leadership training that develops students with experience leading community conversations, partnerships or coalitions for regional economic development, where the university plays a key role in forming and facilitating that activity. The research and analysis category focuses on the capacity of colleges and universities to provide novel forms of research, to design the next generation of tools for economic development practitioners, and recognizes campuses that have successfully applied their research skills and tools to improve the economic well-being of their surrounding community or region or state. Examples could include new analytic tools that take advantage of GIS, qualitative research that helps develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and reports that provide useful insights into a community or regional economy. The last category, talent development, recognizes initiatives that promote the development of 21st century skills and focuses on partnerships needed to create flexible, responsive career pathways to expanding businesses in the local and regional economies. Examples could include collaboration between industry, community college, and or university to develop a new certificate program that meets the workforce needs for a region, early college partnerships to connect K through 12 students with a community college or university that address local talent needs. The Awards of Excellence Committee expanded the number of judging criteria based in large part from feedback from attendees at the annual summit, and we review that each year through the critiques that we receive. Each of the criteria are weighted equally. These criteria are used by the Awards of Excellence Committee to select the finalists in each category, and the category winners are selected by attendees at the annual summit using these same criteria. So let's look at each criteria in a little detail and understand the types of questions the judges will be asking as they review an application. Replicability and scalability means that both large and small institutions can find value in the project or initiative, and that the insights, tools, practices, methodologies could be shared and duplicated. The key questions the judges will be asking include how easy would it be to replicate the initiative? How does this initiative fit both large and small campuses? And how could it be easily scaled in either direction, up or down? Sustainability for our purposes is defined as an initiative that creates value in which others will invest resources. We're looking for promising, leading-edge practices that can be financially supported and will have a lasting impact on university economic development. Key questions could include, does the initiative have a business model that can sustain the initiative beyond its initial funding? How has the initiative's efforts attracted support and interest from clients, participants, and others? And for research questions, it might be how, for example, does the new tool how is it going to be used by practitioners, and how will it be maintained and updated and have a lasting impact on the field? Or is there a plan for keeping data and results up to date? Originality means introducing novel ideas, strategies, and collaborations to the field of university-based economic development. The key questions are, does the initiative introduce an innovative way of thinking and doing? Has the initiative differentiated itself from similar programs? Has the unique approach, strategy, and ideas impacted its success? Impact means the effect of the initiative on one or more measures of economic activity, innovation, competitiveness, or economic prosperity. The key questions are, what metrics are being used to measure the project's economic development gains? What economic development gains have been achieved as a result of the project? For newer initiatives, how will the results be used to measure progress towards the initiative's economic development goals? And I might just point out that impact is a key criteria in the judging process. And then we have an overall criterion that's subjective opportunity for judges and summit participants to score the projects based on individual opinions. At the summit, this criterion is based, at least in part, on the quality of the finalist presentation and the presenter's responsiveness to questions. The key questions are, how well does the submission comply with the application guidelines? How is information in the application supported by evidence? At the summit, what is the quality of the presentation and responsiveness to questions? Now, let's hear from a previous finalist what seems to work and what to avoid in submission and presentation. Janice will be talking about helpful tips. Janice, you're up.
Thanks, Gene. This is Janice Collingwood, Executive Director of Economic Affairs at Arizona State University. And I lead the economic development team at ASU, and we are part of the Office of Knowledge Enterprise Development. At most universities, that would be the Office of Research. But in addition to that part of the university, our senior VP also has responsibility for economic development, entrepreneurship, and corporate engagement. And that will play a role, as you'll see, in how we submitted our application. Also, throughout my part of the presentation, you're going to see some different slide formats, and that is they were taken from different applications over the last couple of years, which I'll explain in more detail. So why did we apply? Or why should you apply? It's a way to raise your visibility as institutions and new ideas and partnerships. From the attendees' perspective, the awards program gives people an opportunity to see how other institutions are using their limited resources. And from an applicant's perspective, the awards can help internally and externally with messaging and publicity. And even within the university, the awards application process can generate new contacts. So what did we do? We tried a few times to get our story right, and in 2012 and 2013, we applied for the Community Connected Campus Awards category for SkySong, the ASU Scottsdale Innovation Center. And that alone is a lot to say. SkySong itself is a mixed-use development incorporating residential, office, and some retail space. And the public-private partnership is with the City of Scottsdale, the ASU Foundation, and private developers. Within the ASU space, we have teams focused on economic development, entrepreneurship, and corporate engagement. So it's several different teams, but we're in one location, and that was one of the reasons why we did SkySong as an overall application. It had community impact, it had a sustainability plan, we continued to scale with new programs and ideas, but was it really replicable by other institutions? I argued yes, and we did that too, but the audience did not. At least that was the anecdotal feedback we heard. So in 2014, we took a different approach. This time we broke out 3 of our programs into separate applications, and one of them won. Why was that, at least in our opinion? We started off with the mission of just one of our 3 groups that are at SkySong, and that was the Entrepreneurship and Innovation group, and that was the top line. And we also talked about its role within the university and the goal to being a national model. And then in this application, we also really focused on one challenge within our community, so not on many, but one, and that was to help libraries improve their relevance in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We looked at the physical opportunities, so connecting with the community, that could help improve one aspect of the entire ecosystem and designed a program to support them. And it was called the Alexandria Innovation Network, which has been renamed to the Entrepreneurship Outreach Network. And this particular program covered all the areas of the awards application as mentioned by Jean. It has impact, it's sustainable through collaboration, and ultimately it is replicable. In fact, our dean made connections to several potential partners at the summit, including library staff from Washington State, and those conversations are continuing. It also had impact. You'll see that the numbers were currently small at the time when we applied because it's a new program, but it did lay out specific achievements of the network. We used outside verification of its effectiveness through a survey, and we actually had an observer in the space during the part of the survey process. And that was all things that we were able to discuss as part of our presentation. We also were able to name the specific locations where we had the outreach network, and we had results from each of those 4. We also mentioned in this case that ASU has relationships in California, and the network plans and has started to capitalize on those relationships. We also re-emphasized the benefits to the community, and that was a key aspect of this awards category. So we as universities often serve our internal constituency, the students, quite effectively, and we also talk about it really well. But the community-connected campus, from a non-student perspective, does not always get as much recognition. So applying and hopefully winning an award can help with that overall messaging. What we did that was the same. So we talked about the university goals, we talked about where the program fits within the university, and we gave context. That was an important piece of that. We also truly answered what UEDA questioned or asked of us. That was very important for us. And we were on time. As Tim mentioned, we're not extending the application deadline. We also used a site that was not on campus, which I think created an interesting dynamic for people who were listening. We were physically in the community with all of our programs, and we talked about our partners, and that if you're going to be a community-connected campus is very important. So what changed is we took apart the SkySong concept and applied it at the program level. So the feedback was that the program was too massive and too difficult for smaller institutions. We also chose programs that had a counterpart in the different communities. So we were able to talk about that in specific. And the other thing that we had is we were talking at the SkySong level about hundreds of millions of dollars of impact, which for smaller institutions that were in the audience was not applicable. So the whole thing that changed ours was the ability to talk about replicability. So in general, what are some things that you should keep in mind? I would keep your presentation succinct. That makes it easier to understand. Time is limited, so practice, and if you can include a non-participant in your practice session to make sure you're delivering your message in an understandable way can be very beneficial. The audience is looking at a lot of slides during the session, so make sure yours are a benefit and not a hindrance. As you saw, we've drastically changed our own slides as illustrated in the variety here. Leave time for Q&A because that's your opportunity to clarify something the audience may not have immediately understood. And most of all, consider your audience. Who could be there? Large and small institutions of higher education, including community colleges, service providers, consultants, economic developers from government, nonprofits, and more. You can't be all things to everyone, but you can help them understand your program. The summit is a great place to make connections. Use the opportunity as a finalist to do that, and of course, include some humor in your presentation. So that's what I wanted to tell you. Now, Maureen is actually going to go through go through her presentation to show you what is possible.
Hi everyone, this is Meredith Jaeger. I'm the founder of Aero Innovate and the founding director. So what I'm going to go through is what you will see on the screen and what you'll hear from me moving forward now is the actual presentation replicating what I did at the summit back in September, the best that I can using this media. So starting off, again, I'm Meredith Jaeger, the founder of Aero Innovate, and Aero Innovate is a program initiative of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. UW-Oshkosh is a regional comprehensive university located in northeast Wisconsin with nearly 14,000 students. So first, what I'd like to start out by doing is just to give you an idea of what northeast Wisconsin is like. In terms of our economy, we are heavy in manufacturing, insurance, and service industries. We have traditionally been known for our paper industry, and our Fox River Valley is often referred to as the Paper Valley. What we're not known for, however, is our entrepreneur and innovation ecosystem. So looking at our region and our needs, we identified 4 regional needs, and you'll see on the screen here first, in order to move our region forward, we identified the need to build a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in northeast Wisconsin. We need new business startups and an ecosystem to support them. Second, realizing that as our economy and world is changing, we need to diversify our regional economy from the paper industry and heavy manufacturing base, and we needed to seek out new industries and new market opportunities. Specifically looking at the aerospace industry, we've seen many changes over the recent years. On the air or the aviation side, certainly there is a need to create aircraft with lighter materials to make flying safer, more efficient, and more exciting and fun. On the space side, we've seen a transition from NASA and government-funded initiatives to private industry, leading the efforts for space flight, space research, and space travel, allowing for more entrepreneurs and innovators to contribute their technologies and talents to the industry. And finally, we looked at the needs of one of our local organizations, the Experimental Aircraft Association. You may have heard of it, especially if you're a pilot or aviation enthusiast. EAA, as we call it, hosts the largest celebration of aviation in the world, where each summer more than 500,000 aviation enthusiasts and industry reps come to Oshkosh to celebrate aviation. As an organization, EAA was founded on the idea of innovation. Their name itself states that they're experimental or innovative. However, they had gotten away from new innovations in recent years, and EAA needed to continue to stay ahead in the industry as it relates to aviation innovation and get back to its roots. So this was kind of the state of our region back in 2007, 2008. So moving on to how we identified the needs, we identified them through what I would call an environmental scan. So by scanning what was going on in our region and in our communities, we can understand what the needs are. For us, the environmental scan is what we do in our everyday work to determine how we can utilize our university resources to meet the needs of our region. So first, at the UW Oshkosh, we have an organization called the Business Success Center. The mission of the Business Success Center is to further the development of the university and the community by actively engaging university resources. At any given time, we have 2 to 4 account managers working directly with businesses, not-for-profit organizations, and government agencies. The account managers spend the majority of their time outside of the office, so we had a pretty good idea, pretty good understanding of what was going on in their businesses, their industry, and in their community. EAA happened to be one of my clients at the time, so I was well aware of the industry and organizational challenges that they were facing. Second, at the time, there was a statewide organization called the Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Network, whose role it was to directly support entrepreneurship and innovation in the state of Wisconsin. So in our area, there was a regional director that was very engaged with what we were doing here at UW Oshkosh, and he was kind of our feet on the ground when it came to direct assistance to entrepreneurs in our area. So the Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Network and the Business Success Center partnered to start AeroInnovate to address each of the 4 needs that I mentioned. UW Oshkosh took the role as the lead entity, but brought together many regional, national, and even international partners to make it happen. So I'll discuss a few of these regional, national, and international partners a bit later in the presentation, but first I just want to go through a little bit about AeroInnovate and who we are, what we do. In a nutshell, AeroInnovate provides the resources that entrepreneurs and startup companies in the aerospace industry need to commercialize their ideas. We do this through our 4 key pillars. There should be a slide up here that shows our 4 key pillars shortly. We educate to build a pipeline of up-and-coming aero innovators, and aero innovators is what we call our entrepreneurs that we work with. We align investors and industry leaders with quality opportunities. We expose new aero-related technologies to the world. And finally, we connect our aero innovators with the people and resources. So how do we do this? First, we have our workshops and forums. Since EAA's AirVenture in 2009, we've been providing a series of tips and tools for entrepreneurs, especially workshops on things that entrepreneurs need to know to build and grow their business. A few of the topics we've done in the past include top 10 mistakes made in business plans, certifying your innovation with the FAA, how to partner with large companies and OEMs like Sikorsky, the amazing power of an advisory board, and other relevant topics to entrepreneurs in the industry. In 2009, we had 2 workshops, and by 2012, we had expanded to 17 workshops during a short 5-day period. Second, networking. We always make sure that there's plenty of networking time at each one of our events. Building relationships, sharing best practices, and making connections is so very important to the success of the startups that we work with. We also act as a hub to connect entrepreneurs and investors. Throughout the year, we take many calls from entrepreneurs asking questions and looking for help. And because we have a network of industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors that we've built over the past 7 years, we do a pretty good job of connecting them with someone who can help. Webinars. We typically do between 2 and 4 webinars per year with our partners, EAA, and also the Space Angels Network, a angel investment network that specifically focuses on aviation and aerospace related technologies. And we'll do a featured tip, promote our presence at EAA, and at times we'll allow for one of our companies that we're working with to do a virtual pitch as well. Technology showcase. In addition to education and connections, startups need exposure. With 500,000 plus industry leaders in town each summer, we feel it's important to give our startups exposure in the form of exhibit space at the air show. That way they're able to make industry connections and also work on both their product validation and customer validation by talking directly to the end user of their innovation or product. We have an investor roundtable For the first couple of years, we really focused on the entrepreneur, but in 2012, we decided to add a focus on the investor side as well. So we partnered with the Space Angels Network to host the Investor Roundtable, which provides an opportunity for investors to network, communicate, share ideas, opportunities and challenges of investing in this particular industry. So each year we have about 50 investors from across the globe attend, and immediately following the Investor Roundtable, our investors attend our premier event, the Pitch and Mingle. Since 2009, we have selected 6 to 8 startups per year to give their pitch to a group of investors, industry leaders, and fellow startups, and they get 12 minutes to give their pitch. 8 for their pitch and 4 for Q&A. And in terms of a little bit of impact here, about half of all of the companies who have pitched have received either funding or other resources such as advisory board or board members as a direct result of their pitch at our event. So moving on to UW Oshkosh has really taken the lead on Aero Innovate, but it certainly could not have been started or flourished in a vacuum. So on this slide, on the next slide, you'll see here a few of the partners that we've been working with, and they're all leaders in their own industry. So EAA, the Space Angels Network, Venture Best, Angels on the Water, and Sikorsky Innovations. They're all very active on our steering committee and provide resources to the initiative, and partnerships with big companies like Sikorsky are really important to us. Those partnerships have expanded into further partnerships where, for example, with Sikorsky, we are now partnering with them on their entrepreneurial challenge as well. So with that, I will actually move on to the next slide with a quote from Jonathan Hartman of Sikorsky. And I don't know, Tim, if you have the slide up here with the quote for Jonathan. Looks like it's slow coming up here. And certainly while I could tell you all about what we do and how what we do is interesting and original and unique, Jonathan Hartman, who's responsible for the Sikorsky Entrepreneurial Challenge and is their lead for disruptive technologies, has a quote here on the screen that you see, and he has been a phenomenal partner and supporter of ours. Moving on to the scalability and replicability. We've already had opportunities to scale and replicate what we do. First, just wanted to point out that we have been approached by other air shows or aviation aerospace clusters and regions across the globe, including Germany, France, and New Zealand, to take Aero Innovate to their locations. And we're still trying to determine if that's a route we want to go. And in the next bullet point, I'll explain kind of where we've already expanded as well. So we've certainly grown in terms of programs, number of startups served, our partners, et cetera, but we know we're only scratching the surface when it comes to helping those startups. So this year will be our first year. We're starting an accelerator class. It will be an 8-week virtual accelerator that wraps up with a weekend pitch camp. And then the companies will be able to display at the AirVenture Air Show and pitch at the 7th Annual Pitch and Mingle on Tuesday, July 21st. So we're super excited, gearing up for that. The deadline for application actually is on Thursday. So finally, this idea and process for helping startups certainly is not unique to the aerospace industry. It could easily be replaced and replicated in other industries. So one of the key things that I'd like to point out to you is that while you may not be able to exactly replicate what we're doing here because you don't have an EAA in your backyard or have a strong aerospace supply chain, what is replicable is doing what we did in terms of identifying strengths and assets in your region and see what industry makes sense in terms of your regional strengths. So what's your Aero Innovate? So moving on to sustainability, I think we've done a really good job of setting ourselves up for success or to be sustainable, if you will. How do we make sure that we're sustainable and continue to grow and meet the needs of our region and the aerospace industry? Well, first we created an advisory board of experts who are all experts in their own area. We have representatives from OEMs, startup companies, investors, industry, etc. Second, we already have a 6-year track record of success. We've already kind of proven ourselves. We've created a strong network of partners that helps us financially and also with keeping us relevant. So the companies that go through our accelerator will be given seed funding and resources, and in turn, just like many of the well-known accelerator programs out there, we will take a small equity stake in the company that will be reinvested into the program. So financially, this will help us sustain our programs as well. We always make sure that we're staying relevant and adding value. We continue to add value to the companies we serve by asking them what we can do better to help them. We're always gathering feedback and trying to improve ourselves. And again, on the financial side of things, establishing ongoing funding sources with our sponsors, taking company equity, additional grant opportunities, and things like that. Before I go on to the impact side of things, just want to quickly mention that we do include students in every aspect of AeroInnovate. Our students are integrated into our marketing, our planning, our event management, working directly with the entrepreneurs, and anywhere else that our students feel they can add value. So finally, I want to leave you with the impact piece. And as you can see on this slide, we have had some significant impact locally, statewide, in industry, and you can see that on the screen. But I do want to end with a quick story and a conversation that I had with the chancellor here at UW Oshkosh a couple years ago when we were talking about, what would success look like for AeroInnovate? Where are we going, and what will this be? And so my response to him was something along the lines of, Chancellor, if the only thing that AeroInnovate did was to help start one company or help a startup company grow, find a new market, or create jobs, I would consider that a success. If the only thing that AeroInnovate did was to be a catalyst for local economic development in creating an aviation business park, I'd consider that a success. If the only thing that AeroInnovate did was to help a local organization, EAA, get back to its roots in putting a focus on innovation, I'd consider that a success. If the only thing that AeroInnovate did was to spur a statewide conversation on how to better support our current aerospace companies, I'd consider that a success too. And I could probably go on and tell little stories like that, but I think you get the point that AeroInnovate has certainly led the way and made an impact on many levels, from local and regional economic development and industry innovations. And we certainly, over our short time of 7 years, have shown that. And with that, I want to thank you so much for your time. If you have questions on the last slide, I think I have my contact information. Feel free to reach out with any questions you might have. And as I leave you today, I'd offer this one final thought. I would encourage each and every one of you to really identify a need in your region where you can be a leader and gather partners around you to support your vision. And again, I ask of you, what's your AeroInnovate? Thank you. So with that, I believe I am passing it back on to Jean to share with you all about the process and how you can apply to the Awards of Excellence for this year. Jean?
Well, thank you, Meredith. So you've heard from Meredith a winning presentation from last year, and from Janice tips about how to make a successful application and presentation. Now let's look at the judging process. UEDA college and university members nominate their initiatives for a UEDA Award of Excellence over the web. This year the nominations are due by June 30th. Please note that we will not extend the deadline this year. We want to notify the finalist by August the 1st, so we need as much of July as possible to review all the submissions and make our decisions. Applicants must designate a category most appropriate for their entry. However, the awards committee may reassign an entry to a different category, and the reason for reassignment is to give each initiative the best chance of becoming a finalist. The decision of the awards committee as to the category most appropriate for an entry will be final. After review of all the nominations and much discussion, the committee selects a number of finalists in each category. Or the committee may determine that no one meets the criteria to be designated a finalist and can choose not to make an award in a particular category. The committee is comprised of UEDA members that include past award members, UEDA board members, and other UEDA members. Currently, the committee has 14 members. However, the actual number of judges participating may be less depending on the availability in July for judging. And also, judges from universities and institutions with entries in a particular category are not allowed to judge that category. Finalists will be notified by August 1st, with all entrants receiving notification shortly thereafter. At that time, the finalist will receive a packet of information with more specific information about the awards presentations at the summit. All finalists are required to make a 15-minute presentation at the annual summit, which will be September the 27th through 30th in Anchorage, Alaska this year. The UEDA summit participants vote to determine the award winners. To vote, a participant must not be from any of the universities competing for an award in that category and must have listened to all the finalists in that category. The awards committee has the option of choosing an overall UEDA Award of Excellence from the category finalist, which we have done in the last couple of years. Members of the committee present at the summit meet after all the presentations to discuss and make a decision regarding an overall UEDA Award of Excellence. UEDA announces the category winners at the award banquet at the summit, and a representative of the winning applicant's institution must be present to accept the award. The abstract, 250 words or less, will be the first thing the judges read about your project or initiative. Be sure they understand the project and its value. This is their first impression. You may want to wait and write this part last as you prepare your submission. Answer the question in the application directly and succinctly. Try to keep it to 1 to 2 paragraphs. Address the criteria. Even if you feel that one is not applicable, tell us why not. No benefits or impacts yet? Talk about the anticipated ones and why this can't be measured, or why it can't be measured. Additional information. Use this to mention something about the project that the application didn't address, but you think is important for the judges to know. You can link to a website and a report, but don't expect the judges to read that report. They will check the links for legitimacy to your project, so make sure those links work. Every year, every project entered is already a winner. Your institution feels it is worth nominating. If you don't get selected, do not be discouraged. Attend the summit, learn from others, and try again. UEDA members submit their leading-edge, university-based economic development initiatives where their peers consider and vote on the awards. Your peers are closely evaluating your work. The awards are used to promote the best ideas of the UEDA membership at the summit, on the website, and through your interactions with colleagues interested in your work. You are adding to the body of knowledge about best practices in university-led economic development. We expect the finalists and winners to help spread their good work to other campuses. The UEDA Awards of Excellence is an opportunity for your organization to win national recognition, maximize local impact. So please show us your best stuff and apply for a 2015 award, and do so by June 30th. And as you've heard, Awards of Excellence finalists will be presenting at our annual summit occurring September 27 through 30 in Anchorage, Alaska. Each year, thought leaders across our domain convene to share ideas and best practices in university economic development. This event is known as the UEDA Annual Summit. In addition to sharing best practices through the Awards of Excellence program, participants in the annual summit build a learning network of colleagues to spot opportunities faster and develop partnerships faster, share success stories and lessons learned with economic developers from colleges and universities nationwide, and gain the latest strategic insights on the role of colleges and universities in economic development. Save the dates now. Registration for the annual summit is now open, and you can find out more on the UEDA website or at www.uedaannualsummit.org. Now, Tim, we're back to you.
Great, thanks, Gene. I appreciate that, and I think everyone who has attended the summit can see from Meredith's presentation as well as Janice's presentation, the types of content that we have there. It's very high level stuff that you can take ideas back to your campuses and really replicate some best practices, whether that's one small piece or a larger piece of an initiative. So it's really great content, and really urge all of you to join us in Alaska. It's a beautiful place, and I do want to take the opportunity to thank Jean, Janice, and Meredith for being with us today. But before we let them and you go, we do have a few questions. So I've opened up all of their mics, and I will ask some questions here of each of the presenters. So the first one's for Jean. Jean, what if a project fits into more than one category? How would you recommend that a person choose which category it fits into?
I would suggest looking closely at the description of that criteria and find the one that you think positions your initiative the best and choose that one. You can offer alternatives if you think that it applies to more. But again, the judges will look at the nomination and make the final decision on which category it will be judged in.
Okay, and Janice and Meredith, I'll ask Janice to go first. What do you think was key for being selected as a finalist and then ultimately as a category winner? I know you highlighted on the split of SkySong into the various aspects of that program. But if Janice, if you can just kind of maybe expand upon that, and then Meredith talk a little bit about that as well.
I think it was being able to describe something so that it made sense to other people. And that really doesn't determine the size of the project that you're looking at, but it's so easy to get caught up in the things that we do every day and believe that everyone else will understand it as quickly and easily. So you only have the limited amount of space in writing, and then you only have 15 minutes as a finalist to actually present your topic. So I think that's important. And that's why we go back to having someone who's not generally involved in your programs listen to your presentation to make sure you are meeting those points. And you have to answer all the category questions that UEDA asks for. The replicability, impact, sustainability, all of that is important. I wouldn't skimp on any of them.
Yeah, so this is Meredith. I would agree with Janice on all of those points in terms of applying and the written piece. I just want to add maybe a little bit to the presentation piece. And what I think was helpful for me is, number one, UEDA, they're going to tell you how you're being judged. And remember that. Remember those categories. Like Janice said, the replicability, the sustainability, the impact, make sure that you're hitting on those. If there's something that you think might be obvious to you, it's probably not obvious to everyone else. Specifically in my presentation, I pointed out the replicability. I knew that everyone in the audience was probably not going to be sitting, with EAA and a pretty significant aerospace supply chain in their backyard. And so it was going to be really hard for them to, kind of in their head figure out, how is this replicable to me? How could I do this at my university? So I spelled it out. I just told them, don't make the audience guess. Tell them how it can be replicable. And finally, I think, Jean mentioned this before, that everyone who is, nominated or applies for the award is certainly a winner in itself, because you do have a program that, is making a difference in your community. But these are some pretty significant, exciting projects, and the people who are working on them should be excited about it. And when you do your presentation, make sure that you share that excitement with the audience and show your passion for all of the really cool, amazing things that your project is doing.
Great, thank you. This next one is for Jean. Jean, if presenters or nominations aren't selected, I guess if they're not a category winner or if they're not even selected as a finalist, how can they get feedback on their nomination and application to the program if not selected?
So we would encourage all the nominations, those institutions, to come to the summit. There is an opportunity, there's a kind of an informal breakfast meeting with the judges to talk about the process, tips, We may be able to answer specific questions about your nomination if it wasn't selected, but the best place and time to do that is at the summit in that informal breakfast gathering.
And then what about if they aren't able to attend the summit? Can they outreach to the committee for some input?
I would suggest sending a question to UEDA, and it'll be passed to probably to the chair, to me, and we will see what kind of feedback that we can provide specific to your individual nomination.
Great, thanks. Can you, Gene, go into a little bit more about the voting process at the summit? Is it just the judges or select judges from the committee that's going to be providing the assessment at the actual summit itself?
So the voting for the category winner at the subject is really done by your peers, not the committee judges. Although if we're in the room, we're likely to vote as well. But it's really your peers that are listening to all of the presentations in your category and deciding, using the same criteria that we use to choose finalists, on which ones the participants in that session believe meets those criteria the best. If a participant is from one of those institutions, they're not allowed to vote. And if you come late into that session and haven't heard all of the presentations, you're not allowed to vote either. But really, the winning initiative is chosen by your peers.
Great. Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, and Janice, who's on the call as a presenter, is in charge of orchestrating our agenda for the summit, the massive task of that effort. And we do have a call for presentations that's out and due May 1st. So if you do have any ideas for general presentations for concurrent sessions, please pass them along to us and find more information on our website. But one thing that we did do this last year, and we're planning on doing this year, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice, but we're looking at the ability for everyone to attend all of the awards presentations. We used to have 2 awards presentations simultaneously, and folks really wanted to find out more about those initiatives and have the chance to vote on them and get some ideas and take those back to their campuses. So we did split that out, so now that you are able to attend each and every awards session to hear the finalists' presentations. Do finalists receive a registration discount for the summit? And I'll let Jean answer that one.
So the finalists are identified by August the 1st and are given the early bird discount for registration. So yes, they do get that early bird discount.
Okay, and is there only one winner for each category? How many finalists are there? How many winners are there?
The number of finalists would probably be up to 4. Like I mentioned, we could choose no finalist if we didn't think any of the nominations in that category met the criteria. And we've had as many as 4 in a category. There would typically be 1 winner per category. I don't recall an instance where we had a tie, but I guess that's not out of the question. But you could typically expect to have 1 winner in each of the categories.
Great, and the last question that I have here as we wrap up is just where can I address general questions? And if you go to the website, the email address info@universityeda.org, that comes directly to me, and I'd be happy to direct your question either to one of our committee members, one of our panelists today, or you can reach them directly through one of the email addresses that you see on your screen. Or I'll answer that question directly. So, we do look forward to having you all submit an application for the Awards of Excellence program, or at the very least seeing you in Anchorage and participating in the UEDA Awards Summit. And with that, I'd like to thank you for participating today and have a good rest of your day. Thanks.